Good evening, Canterbury. I'm Mike Yardley. Welcome to Newsmakers Extra. It's been described as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to recraft our alcohol laws, and the Law Commission, in releasing its final recommendations, has described alcohol reform as a social battleground. Tonight we are going to debate some of the Commission's 153 recommendations and the way forward from here. Joining us is the Canterbury President of the Hospitality Association, Peter Morrison, and from Alcohol Action New Zealand, the Director of the National Addiction Centre, Professor Doug Sellman. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Before we zero in on some of the key recommendations, I'm keen to get your overall impressions to the Commission's report. Peter, I note that the Food and Grocery Council has branded the report wowzerish. Is this outfit in denial about the need for some reform?
Hands?
The food and grocery people.
As I've told you before, I mean, they lost lead alcohol, so that's how they get people in the supermarket. So no wonder they're going to be upset about it.
Would you consider it wowzerish, this report?
No, nanny state-ish. I wouldn't call it wowzerish. Yeah, but I've got all the confidence in this government they've already said that they're going to individual responsibility is a bigger thing in this government than previous governments.
Given how politically charged a lot of these issues become, are you surprised at the magnitude of change the Law Commission has proposed?
No, I'm not. I think that's because it was headed by Sir Geoffrey Palmer, who has lived through the reforms that he was part of 20 years ago, and he saw, I think, an opportunity to right some mistakes that were made at that time. I also think that he was guided by the international evidence on how a society can reduce its alcohol-related problems, and that is really what is in this report.
The fact that it is a 500-page tome is going to arguably startle a lot of horses. Won't a lot of viewers tonight, Doug, be thinking, my God, Sir Geoffrey's gone berserk?
I don't think they will. I think they will recognise this as a blueprint for change, for significant change. We need significant change. We've got a national alcohol crisis. It's a crisis that we've all become so used to that we see it as our way of life. But when you look objectively at the harm that alcohol is doing to society at the current time, we're in a national alcohol crisis. We need significant change, and this is really a 5-year blueprint for that change.
We need change, but a lot of the things he's recommending will be ineffective in reducing harm. It's just it's all moralistic and feel-good stuff. But I mean, the two of the things that we really wanted put in there, and I'm sure Doug would want them too, which he's ignored, is having a drinking age of 18, as well as a purchase age of 18, and also bring back intoxication in the public place. I mean, he's sort of brought it back with giving the police a power of the
$250 charge.
Fine. But it should be, you know, it's all too washy-washy. It should be like it was 20-something years ago. You couldn't be intoxicated in a public place.
I'll pick up on some of those ideas a little later on.
I don't find it in any way moralistic. I think we're getting beyond alcohol being a moral issue into alcohol as a law and order issue. It's a health issue. It's an economic issue, and that is what's reflected in here. So I disagree with Peter on that point.
Would you go as far as to say we've got a crisis with alcohol?
No, I wouldn't say a crisis. There's definitely things that need to be fixed.
Okay.
We'd agree with Doug's 5 points. Is it 5?
5 plus solution?
5 plus solution. Some of those things we actually agree with. Yeah.
Okay, let's walk through some of the key recommendations. First of all, the price of alcohol. Sir Geoffrey has underscored the fact that we have very cheap and easy alcohol available, $1 or $2 for an RTD, less than bottled water. That is arguably absurd, isn't it?
Agreed. There's got to be, it's no good putting an excise tax 50% because that interferes with everyone. Mum and Dad that have a gin and watching CTV at night, they're going to have to pay $10 to $15 more for a bottle of gin.
I thought we had a very sober audience.
But I mean, but there should be minimum pricing, especially in supermarkets and off-premise licences. I mean, the off-premise used to be reasonably. I mean, 20 years ago, when I was involved in off-premise, we were selling beer for the same price they are selling it now, and it's because of supermarkets lost leading that have pulled down the prices and off licences as well.
Was Simon Power's reaction on Tuesday politically gutless?
I think it was it was a political statement as a kind of a way of stalling for time to really consider. And as Peter's mentioned, there is in this report consideration of minimum pricing, which needs more analysis. So it might be that the whole issue of pricing is going to be considered in a more deliberative way. So I wouldn't prejudge that.
Right.
And I guess I'm being hopeful, because price is one of the sharpest ways in which you can actually reduce alcohol-related problems.
Is your concern about cheap alcohol predominantly focused on your off-licence arena as opposed to supervised premises?
It doesn't matter where it comes from. Price is such a major signal. But I agree with Peter that the excessive commercialisation of alcohol that we've got at the current time, in terms of price, really the rubber hits the road in supermarkets where you've got this incredibly cheap alcohol.
See, only 30% of alcohol is on-premise bars. 70% of it is bought. Drink at home, drink in parks, kids drinking in cars. It's only 30%, and they're at supervised areas. And we already have a what do they call it? An accord, not an accord. It's a protocol that you can't have, you know, $30 drink all you can sort of things. All those things that are harmful in on-premise.
I think Peter talks up the supervision of people in licensed premises. And I also think there's a significant problem in New Zealand about serving to intoxicated people. It's very clear that people after 12 o'clock, probably at night, in bars are being served.
Oh, no, it's not.
It depends on the definition of intoxication. And the standard definition of intoxication is a 0.05 level. Now, I'm sure if you took a breathalyser around most people in pubs after 12 o'clock at night.
Do you think they should be breathalyzed?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to make the point that people are being served intoxicated
it's against the law for on-premise to serve anyone intoxicated, and the police, especially in Christchurch and the main cities, are pushing that very hard, which is fair enough.
But it's interpreted as gross intoxication, and the words are intoxication.
Although the law is there, so who do you think is leading the side down when it comes to the enforcement?
I think it's part of our way of life, that we have accepted intoxication as a normative way of being. And so I think we all share. I don't want to put the blame on anyone in particular. I think we all share in this to some extent.
Do you think New Zealand has a major cultural defect when it comes to this idea that we drink to get drunk? Is there something egregiously wrong with that?
I think there is. I mean, and I notice it more with younger people. When I say young, straight out of 18, 17, 18, 19. Males. Oh well, no, I suppose there's females as well, but I've noticed it more with males. But it is, I'll get to our bang for the buck, and we'll drink as much as we can to get full. And it's. I mean, I can remember being that age too, and we used to have a great time. But we only drank beer because we didn't have all these RTDs and these premixes and sweet bloody lolly water stuff.
Would you want those to be removed from the market, the RTDs, the bourbon flavoured lollies?
It would be very hard to remove those now, because you would have to regulate on the amount of sugar that's put into the drink. So I haven't given enough thought really to that. But getting back to price, that is a key issue, and I think that can deal with RTDs to some extent.
Yeah. Okay, we'll pick up on some other recommendations, including the age of purchase. That's coming up. Do stay with us.